Greetings folks, I just thought I'd share a recent purchase, new set of goggles. My original goggles are these Aomway Commander V1. Really nice goggles, good priced, fully functioned. I was never going to pay the money for Fatsharks, and these are sort of the next best thing, I think. I kind of wondered whether one of my receivers had stopped working. I wasn't quite getting the range. I didn't seem to be getting the longer range from the patch. And I also broke off one of these receiver screw-on bits. I did successfully solder it back on, but I just wasn't sure that I was getting the range that I wanted. So I looked around for replacement. I was just going to replace them with exactly the same thing, but there's a new version out. That's the Commander V1S. And they seem to be a lot cheaper too. So I bought some, and let's have a look at them. They are available from Banggood and GearBest, I think, all those usual overseas places. But I bought this from an Australian company called FPV Faster, and they lived up to their name. They got them to me within a couple of days, so that was impressive. The price, these new goggles are quite a lot cheaper than the older goggles, so it's a good upgrade as far as I'm concerned. They sell for around about 200 US or 300 Australian. They seem to be discounted sometimes and not discounted others. They go from, I've seen these for as cheap as 190 US or 280 Australian. I actually ended up buying these for about 320 Australian because that was the price at the time. When they're not discounted, they go up to something like 440 Australian. So keep an eye out for the discounts. So the goggles, they're a different colour. They're sort of shiny black like this, but basically exactly the same. Differences are it has a 64-channel dual receivers for diversity instead of the previous one had 40 channels, I think. Supports all the same inputs and outputs, sort of AV in and out. It can do 16:9 and 4:3 aspect ratio. Supports 3D, HDMI out. Has a DVR for recording, supports a head tracking module, but you have to put that in yourself. I have one in these goggles, so I'm going to swap it over to this one. The field of view is 32 degrees, which isn't the biggest field of view, but for a budget pair of goggles, that's pretty good. I'm just used to it, so that feels fine to me. I think some Fatshark models have wider field of view, and there are cheaper goggles that have a narrower field of view. 32 for me is just right. LCD screens are 854 by 480 WVGA size, and the voltage input is from 7 to 18 volts. You also get a couple of good Aomway antennas, a patch and a circularly polarized SMA, and you also get a power cable which has 2S, 3S, 4S balance plug inputs there, so you can plug any battery in that range into there and operate the goggles. I have just made up a XT60 version, so I can just plug the battery straight into the XT60 plug. I think this one seems to have a little bit of circuitry on there to regulate the voltage maybe. I haven't had a problem with the 3S plugging in like that anyway, so that's an option. AV in and out plug there, extra padding if you want it, but the standard stock padding works very well for me. Has a strap over the top, little patch for the battery in the back there, adjustable straps, and it fits my face really nicely. I have quite a broad face, and I found some of the Fatshark goggles were too narrow. They didn't fit my face at all. And it has adjustable interpupillary distance. I need the maximum. I would actually like a millimetre or two further apart for my sort of wide eye stance. It also has a fan and a low voltage alarm. I'll put a couple of different links in the description where you can buy them. I notice in Banggood at the moment they're out of stock, so you could set up an alert for when they come back in stock. As I said, I got these ones from a local outlet called FPV Faster, which I'll also link to, and I can recommend them. Good price and fast delivery time. So there we go, that's how it sets up. They are just a good pair of goggles that work well. You've got an earphone jack there, AV in and out there, fan inlet there, PS2 style plug for the head tracker to connect to the trainer port on your transmitter. You have to buy that separately. And in my testing, yes, the range of these and the clarity is a lot better than my original ones, which were definitely, the receivers were failing. You used to be able to buy replacement receivers, but I think they don't seem to be sold anymore. So the only option for me to get really good reception again was to replace the goggles, and I'm happy I did. I'll try and show what the on-screen display looks like, but very, very difficult. The 16.5 volts comes from the camera, so that's not from the goggles. We can see we get goggles voltage and channel and band up the top. Change the channel with a short press of the channel and band button. Change the band with a slightly longer press and you get a double beep. So that changes the band. Push it for longer and you get a triple beep to put it into search mode. And it's pretty good search function too. There we go. And we have the DVR. Hold the DVR button down and push again to get it recording. You get the flashing when it's recording. Turn the fan on and off. We have brightness, contrast. It's better if we make it a bit darker. Change to 4:3 aspect ratio there, and we have 3D, I think that is, HDMI. With any of the single screen goggles, I find I need to add extra close-up glasses before I can focus on the screen, but with these Commander goggles I don't need any extra diopters or anything. I usually need reading glasses of about +1 or +1.5. I don't need any extra diopters with these goggles, which is great. So I recommend the Aomway Commander V1S. They are an improvement on the V1s, much better price than Fatshark goggles, and they work well.